Hello and welcome back to World 360. When we think of the Nordic region in Europe, which consists of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and others, we think of welfare states with low unemployment and liberal asylum systems. We think of progressive politics where quality and freedom is greatly valued. But once in a while, that reputation gets punctured. Take Sweden. For the past 4 to 5 days, several Swedish cities, namely Örebro, Stockholm, Malmö, Linköping and Norrköping, have witnessed violent protests. The protesters, mostly Muslim immigrants, took to the streets in places where anti-Muslim rallies were said to be held. So in a way, they were counter-protesters. Now, the anti-Muslim demonstrations were called by far-right Danish politician Rasmus Paludan, and rumours swirled that the Quran would be burned at his demonstrations. Police were sent to these locations allegedly to allow Paludan's slated demonstrations to be held in the name of freedom of speech. But over the last few days, we've seen violent clashes between police and counter-protesters. Buses and other vehicles have been set on fire. Policemen were pelted with stones and more than 40 people have been arrested. We're also seeing mainstream media move away from words like protests to riots given the escalating situation. Let's not forget that these protests began during a time of religious jubilation. Christians celebrated Easter last weekend and Muslims are observing the month of Ramadan. So it's quite interesting for Rasmus Paludan, who holds Swedish citizenship, and his far-right Stram Kurs group to organize anti-Muslim protests at this time. According to reports, Paludan posted a video ahead of these scheduled anti-Muslim rallies in which he burnt the Quran and threatened to do it again at the protests. The move was condemned internationally. Iran and Iraq summoned the Swedish ambassadors to lodge protest, and Malaysian politician Dr. Zulfikar Muhammad Al-Bakri wrote a scathing open letter to Paludan in which he said, "You can burn the Mushaf as many times as you can, but you cannot burn our dedication in spreading the beauty of the Quran. God bless you." Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, called it the deliberate abuse of the Holy Quran by some extremists in Sweden. Paludan's actions have been widely viewed as provocative. But he could just be a symptom of a larger shift to populism that we have been seeing in recent years. As one Bloomberg article described him, he makes Donald Trump's stance on immigration seem moderate and has been dubbed a professional troublemaker by Marine Le Pen. If you watched last week's episode, you know that Marine Le Pen is who French President Emmanuel Macron has to beat in the ongoing elections. She's considered a far-right candidate, so it's telling when she calls someone a professional troublemaker. The visuals from Sweden are clearly disturbing, but they are not new. Sweden and the larger Nordic region have witnessed unrest related to Islam and immigration policies many times before. In August 2020, riots broke out in parts of Sweden after police prevented Paludan from entering the country, prompting his followers and other far-right activists to hold protests, where some allegedly burnt the Quran. In September 2020, clashes broke out at an anti-Islam rally in Norway's capital, Oslo. One protester reportedly ripped pages from the Quran. We can go as far back as 2015 in Finland, where a protest was held in which demonstrators, including one apparently dressed in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, attacked buses transporting asylum seekers. Even in 2013, Sweden's capital Stockholm witnessed riots for 5 days, during which schools, a library, a bank and a police station were attacked. It spurred a national debate about immigration, unemployment and social inequality. The bottom line is that Nordic countries have seen a high influx of immigrants from war-torn countries like Iraq, Somalia, the former Yugoslavia, Afghanistan and Syria over the past 2 decades. And it has had an effect on the population in these countries. According to a report by Nordregio, a research entity under the Eurostat, the Statistical Office of the European Union, from 1990 to 2016, the population of Nordic countries has grown by 15%. If we break down this increase, net immigration accounts for about 2/3, and natural increase, which refers to more births than deaths, accounts for 1/3 of this increase. As you can see in this map, all Nordic countries have seen historically high levels of immigration since 2005 or so, with Sweden being the highest. So perhaps the riots we're seeing in Sweden today, along with all the others we've seen across the Nordic region in recent years, begs the question, have immigrants been sufficiently integrated in Nordic societies? After the 2013 riots in Sweden, a Guardian editorial asked a similar question. Why did relations between the immigrant population and the police break down to the extent they have? What worked for the asylum seekers of the former Yugoslavia in the early 1990s that has stopped working now for Somalis and North Africans? These need to be openly debated and honestly answered. Thank you so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for ThePrint. Do subscribe to The Print on In and follow us on social media.